It should not be difficult for me to share eyeshadow shade names with you in a video, but that is not the case for this palette that we are going to be talking about today. This is the Lilas Lumière Étendu palette, recently re-released from VISEART, following a very quick sellout over the past holiday season. Before we get into the details of that, let's level set here, okay? These are the same palette, right? My eyes do not deceive me. Feel free to pause because I know I did when I looked at the palette on VISEART's site, which is where I purchased it from, and Beautylish. So here is what I found. There are 3 shadows in this palette that had a different shade name on Beautylish. And at first I thought, ooh, did Beautylish make a boo-boo? Let me look back and forth at this some more. And that is when I noticed that it wasn't just the shade names, it was also the shade descriptions. And if you include shade description discrepancies, it brings it up to 4 shades. But if I look at the back of my box, again, I bought mine from VISEART. Here you can see the back of the box and what those shade names are. And here is this woman's lovely arm. This photo is from the VISEART website. And the shade names are different. You guys, why? Why? Okay, I feel like if I were airing this video on NBC, that guy from Dateline should be narrating this video because I do not understand. This is a mystery to me. I am completely vexed by this. So I am going to try in today's video to not let this impact my overall first impression. We are going to do swatches, and just for fun, if you feel like it, down in the comments on those shades where there's a discrepancy in shade name, feel free to chime in on which shade name and description you think is most accurate. Once we get through swatches, I'm going to do 2 looks, and then we will sort of wrap it up with final thoughts. I hope all of this sounds good to you and that you will like this video. It really helps my channel out, and that you will subscribe before you leave. And now let's get into those mysterious swatches. I am going to give you both the shade name and the description, and I am going to point out those shade names where there is a difference between the back of the box, the VISEART website, and the Beautylish website. So let's get into it. I'm going to swirl into these first 4. First up, we have Pearl Door, which is a light champagne blush pink with a matte finish. Rosé, the light pink champagne with a high shine metallic finish. According to the VISEART website and the lady's arm, soft pink. It says soft light pink with a matte finish. Now, according to the back of my box, this shade is called Vanilla. A pale peach vanilla with a matte finish. I am not seeing the peach here, but I don't know, maybe on the eyes it's going to look more peachy. So soft pink or vanilla, you decide. The final shade in this row is called Isolde, and this is another one where there is a difference in shade name and description. According to the VISEART website, Isolde is a light stone brown nude with a matte finish. But on the Beautylish site, in the back of my box, this shade is called Cafe, taupe cool brown with a matte finish. Now, what is the difference between light stone brown nude and taupe cool brown? I have no idea. Let's get into this next row. This one is called Tiramisu. Whew, that is light. These shades are very, very light. We'll have to see how they go on my eyes. So Tiramisu, a light cool taupe with a matte finish. Argente, a silver with a shimmer finish. Ooh, I like that one a lot. That is really pretty. Burlesque. I have a feeling I'm going to like this one too. Burlesque. A little bit lighter than I thought it would be, not as much base. This is a metallic satin caramel hue with a duochromatic finish. For shade 8, this is one of the ones that has a different name and a different description. This one on the VISEART website and the Woman's Arm is called Fondant, an iced silver rose with a shimmer finish. However, if you go to the Beautylish site and you look at the back of the box, this is called Boberg, a burnt silver with a wet duochrome finish. So, iced silver rose versus burnt silver, you decide. All right, for these next two shades, they are the same in all locations that I can find. First up, we have Pompidou. That is a muted, cool tone pink lilac with a matte finish. I love this shade. This is my kind of shade. If you watch me, you know. And then I love the look of this one too. This one is called Dolce, a warm mid-tone burnished bronze. Look at that. With a shimmer finish. Shade 11, this next one, has the same name in both locations, but the description is different, and it is called Cambrazine. On the VISEART site, this is described as a mid-tone grayish stone hue with a matte finish. On the Beautylish site, this is described as a smoky brown with a matte finish. So, mid-tone grayish stone hue versus smoky brown. I don't know. Okay, and finally, in all places, everyone has agreed that this last one is espresso, and it is described as a bitter brown with a matte finish. So there we have all of the swatches. Again, the ones that are different shade names and or descriptions in different places are shade number 3. Is it soft pink or is it vanilla? Shade 4. Is it Isolde or Cafe? Shade number 8. Is it Fondant or Boberg? And then shade number 11, same name. Is it a mid-tone grayish stone hue or a smoky brown? Regardless of the names, I do think it is a beautiful color story. And now that we have those swatches out of the way, we are going to get into building some eye looks. All right, let's get into building those eye looks. I have already assessed the palette and decided that on one eye, I am going to build a look that focuses more on sort of the brown and the gold and the bronze. And for the other, I am going to focus on the pink shades and sort of the silvery shades. We are going to start over here with my pink and silver look. I am going to start off with this shade here. You'll be hearing a lot of this shade here since some of these shade names are in dispute. I've got a Rephr 16 here. I am going to pick this up with a very light hand and even tap off. I didn't mention this during swatching, but what I noticed is that it really didn't take a lot for me to pick up a lot of product, especially with the mattes, which VISEART's mattes are known to be some of the best. They're very finely milled and they are very, very buttery. So if you get this palette, you know, go lightly when you're swatching, when you're picking up with a brush, because otherwise you're going to end up with powder all over your face. And I've already done the rest of my makeup. Everything that I've used will be listed in the description box below. Let's get on with it. I also already put on the eyeshadow primer, and I'm just starting sort of mid-lid here above my crease to start building out some structure with this sort of pinky lilac matte. And I did have quite a bit of kick up in the pan when I grabbed this with a brush. So as I'm dipping back in, I'm not rubbing this brush into the pan. I'm just sort of boop, boop, picking up from old to kick up. I'm going to take this now also into the outer corner because this is the deepest pink in the palette. Even for me, some of the lighter pinks might be too light. We might have to play with one of those just to sort of see how it looks on someone with my skin tone. Okay, so we've got a nice light wash of that color. And now I am going to grab my Shoto 03 and I am going to go into this first sort of pink shade here that is so incredibly light. I'm just using this to sort of buff that out a bit. So now I'm going to pick up this shade here with my finger. This is one of the ones that had a different shade name and description. In one place, it is described as a burnt silver, and in the other, an iced silver rose. So let's see if there's any rose in that at all. Once applied to the lid. I'm not seeing a strong rose tone to this. It also doesn't look burnt, but it is a really beautiful shade. I'm getting a little bit of fallout. I think that's really beautiful. Gosh, VISEART makes such beautiful shadows. I am now going to grab this little shimmer number up here. And I'm going to go into the inner corner. You know what? I'm going to pick this up on a brush. Hold, please. I have got my little KJH Spectrum collection brush here that I love to use for the inner third. So I'm just picking some of that up. And now I'm going to press that in to the inner corner. Also a very beautiful, soft shade there. Sort of swooping up a little bit up towards my little crease that I created. I think those blend together really beautifully. In the outer corner, I have to grab this other sort of metallic shade here, guys. This one is called Argenté. No matter where you look, I'm talking about this shade here, and I am just going to pick that up. And even though it is a shimmer, I am going to put this in the outer corner so that I've just got a nice sort of gradient here of those three. And I think that's a really beautiful mix and looks pretty natural mixed together. And with that one, I got a lot of fallout. A lot. I am going to grab that Rougher 16 again, dip in lightly to that first matte shadow that I laid down. And just kind of dot into the crease a little bit there. And blend those together. Wow. Okay, guys, I gotta show you the fallout because that's some epic fallout. I am gonna go ahead and quickly clean that up. I am gonna add some liner with the shadow. I am just gonna grab some of this espresso, the most bitter shade in the palette, and I am gonna put some of that on the lash line, which is going to produce even more fallout that I will have to clean up. If you didn't see my video on eyeshadow sticks, the amount of fallout I'm wearing right now certainly explains why an eyeshadow stick would be appealing to me. But guys, it's not going to stop me from buying eyeshadow palettes. Come on, you know me. Okay. More fallout. Holy cannoli. We are going to let this side of my face dry. And we are going to move on to this other look, but I think we can agree that this came together really quick and easy, which is one of the things that I love about VISEART's palettes. They are so well curated. It's really easy to select different shades that will work together. So let me see. I don't want to go too dark to start. And so I'm going to grab this shade here. This is known as Isolde on the VISEART site, and Cafe if you are looking at the back of the box. And I am picking this up with a Shoda 03, and I am gonna run this just above the crease. Since my eyes are kind of hooded, I'm going light today, you guys. You proud of me? That is a really nice, light, beautiful transition shade that I probably already have 50 of in my collection, but who's counting? Yeah, that's really beautiful. I love that. Let's go into the outer corner now. I am going to grab this shade here. This is the same shade name in both locations. However, it is described as a mid-tone grayish stone hue in one place and a smoky brown in another place. So I'm picking this up in a Rephr 01 Mini, which is one of my favorite outer corner brushes. And just sort of tapping that in. That does go down rather light. So is it a mid-tone grayish stone hue? Or is it a smoky brown? I'm going to kind of work upwards here. Get a little bit different shape and also deepen it up in the outer corner all the way up. Because I've already got this brush out and this mini is pinched, so it is thinner, I am going to go ahead and take that same shade, pick some up with the tip of the brush and sort of pinch it between my fingers and use that along the lower lash line, which looks a lot like my Endless Cacao pencil that I always use on the lower lash line. Now it is time for some bronze and some gold. I am inclined to use the shade that had more of a base. Shade number 7, this is called Burlesque, which is a metallic satin caramel hue with a duochrome finish. And then we also have Dolce. God, I just love that name. Is it because I want to eat some Dolce? I don't know. So those are the two sort of golden bronzy shades. You know what? Let's use this one first. I'm running that up into the crease just a little bit with my fingertip, and I'm running it also into the brown that I laid down in the outer corner. I will work to marry those up a little bit better. I want to pack a little bit more of this color along the lash line, sort of intensify that. And now I am going to take my fave inner third shimmer brush. I'm going to rub that off on a towel to get the pigment off. And so now I am going to use the lighter of the two of these sort of golden bronze shades. This one is more of a topper. We'll see how this does with a brush. Okay, I think this is definitely a shade where I would recommend you lay it down with your finger first, and then you can kind of refine it with a brush. So I've just picked some up there on the tip of my finger. It looks very similar to what I just laid down, which is interesting. little surprised by that. I am going to go back to the outer corner now, if I can find my brush. Yes, so here I've got my 01 Mini, and just want to marry this back up with this shimmer shade a little bit, sort of tapping those together to marry those. God, I love both of these. I am now going to grab some of that bitter brown espresso, and I want to deepen this up just a little bit more as well. I'm using a liner brush, but I wouldn't say that I'm strictly lining out here. Just at the very outer edge of where I added shadow here, I'm going to deepen that up too with that. Even with all the fallout so far, this is my favorite look. So let me clean up a little bit, and I have a feeling I'm going to want to do a little bit something more over here. Hello, my cellar water. Yeah, fallout aplenty. Whew, man. I am gonna add more of the espresso shade over here because I just feel like it needs something. I'm actually gonna grab a pencil brush. I have a Rephr 03 here. I am gonna dip into that espresso shade. Going up here as well. And going into the crease a bit. I think so that I don't have to clean up anymore, I am going to add Endless Cacao Liner over here. Whew, Endless Cacao needs to be sharpened. I am going to go off camera, put on mascara, and I will be back for final thoughts. All right, guys, I am back, and here are the final two looks. We have the look that is more sort of pinky and silver, and then this look over here, which is golden, bronzy, and brown. And I like this palette because of its ability to offer these two different looks. I think that this is potentially a great palette for travel for that reason. If you're looking for a palette that could take you through this summer where you could create, I think, some really great one and done looks with the shimmers, also just some sort of lighter looks like this. You have enough variation here to do that. I did have a lot of fallout with this palette, and I feel like I had more fallout than I've had with other VISEART palettes. This is a curation of existing shades from other palettes. So if you have a large VISEART collection, you may already have all these shades. Now, even if that's the case, you may decide you want this curation. I can say, though, that I am happy with this palette so far, despite the oddity on the different shade names and shade descriptions. That has not affected my first impressions of liking this palette. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and that if you are interested in this palette, you are able to get it as a part of the Memorial Day sale, which should still be happening as I post this. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.